Here.
Circle here. Back. Here. Black. Here. Bratton. Raise it. 4, 3, 4.
We have a quorum. Today we're hearing House Bill 1483 and House Bill 2098. Representative Thompson, House Bill 2098, would you please come forward?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Terry Thompson, District 53, which is part of Lafayette and part of Ray County. And thank you for the opportunity to discuss with you my House Bill 2098. Presently, under current Missouri law, holiday and vacation pay are considered deductible wages for the purpose of determining the amount and timing of unemployment benefits. This is not the case for severance and termination pay, and as a result, it's possible to receive a sizable amount of severance and continue to draw unemployment benefits at the same time. Basically, this bill wants to include the severance pay and also the termination pay and include that. It does not affect the timing lengthwise of the unemployment benefits. This bill has been around for several years. Back in 2015, it was truly agreed and passed, but it was overthrown by the Supreme Court due to a timing of Governor Nixon's signing of the bill. And the plan is to reestablish that statute. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer.
Thank you. Any questions for the sponsor? Seeing none. Anybody here to testify in favor, please come forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you very much. Logan Hobbs, Legislative Liaison for the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations. This language is identical to Senate Bill 845, so I won't belabor the point. The representative did a good job of explaining it. Basically, earned income is the basis for what is considered to be deductible for unemployment insurance. Holiday and vacation pay is already prorated when it's paid out as someone leaves their position. And we time the dispensation of unemployment insurance benefits after those have been depleted by the prorated amount. So we're just trying to do the same thing with severance and termination pay. We estimate about $3.8 million to be reduced in dispensations from the trust fund if this were to go into effect. The trust fund's currently at about $975 million. We're not trying to shore anything up. We're just hoping to enact some good policy here and do what 35 other states have already done. So I'm happy to answer any questions about severance and termination pay or the UI Trust Fund. Or
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Anybody else testify in favor, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Philip Arnzen with the Missouri Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And as the bill sponsor and the previous witness has stated, we're in support for those same reasons.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, David Overfeld on behalf of Associated Industries of Missouri, Missouri Grocers Association, Missouri Retailers Association, and the Missouri Tire Industry Association. Yes, we support House Bill 2098.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Anybody else in favor? Please come forward. Anybody in opposition, please come forward. Anybody for informational or for opposition? Okay. State your name and let us know who you are, and make sure you fill out a witness form. I don't think I said that earlier.
Good morning, Senators and committee. My name is Mary Berry. I'm with the Missouri State AFL-CIO. The Missouri AFL-CIO is the voice of the working Missourians, respectfully opposes House Bill 298. Unemployment insurance is a central anchor of the Missouri workers' protection safety net, as well as an important stabilizer of the economy. Unemployment benefits help laid-off workers who are actively seeking to return to work, keep food on the table, heat in the winter, and from missing a payment that will cause them to lose their home. Any changes to this program needs to be made with the utmost precision and the security of Missouri workers in mind. Unfortunately, House Bill 298 introduces randomness and chaos to the program that should be predictable and stabilizing. House Bill 298 seeks to reduce workers' benefits by offsetting any severance pay that laid-off workers receive upon loss of the job. Doing this adds both confusion and financial stress to the working Missourians in one of the most traumatic moments in their lives. A worker that is being laid off shouldn't have to plug in numbers into a formula to determine how much money their benefits are going to be reduced by, and whether it will leave enough money for them to keep their homes and put food on the table. Furthermore, House Bill 298 fails to take into account that severance packages often are lower than what would be otherwise predictable because of negotiating arrangements assume that the employees will have qualified for unemployment compensation. Missourians working is a good thing. Involuntary losing their job is not. House Bill 298 makes the process more difficult. The Missouri AFL-CIO respectfully urges a no vote on 298.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody else in opposition? Anybody for informational purposes only? That includes the hearing on House Bill 2098. Representative Chris, whenever you're ready, House Bill 1483, please come forward.
Thank you, Chairman. Senators, Brad Chris, District 96 from the House, here to present the reauthorization of the amateur sports tax credit, which is my House Bill 1483. This is legislation that is due to sunset in 2025. It's critical for attracting amateur sports events, which provides significant visitor spending and tax revenue for Missouri. So since its passage in 2013, over 100 amateur sports events have come and utilized this tax credit, including NCAA championships and other high-profile events, attracting over 550,000 visitors and over $500 million in new visitor spending. So we've had a significant return on investment in this program, and this simply reauthorizes that from the sunset. There is a cap raise from $3 million to $6 million due to the success of the program. However, there's also a contributor tax credit limit of $10 million that we are decreasing to $5 million. So it's actually a net decrease of $2 million in the program altogether, but we wanted to increase the area of the program that has had the most success, which is where the money goes to these events and these organizations putting on the events. There's also conversation to lower that even further, so it should be an even lower net decrease. There's also some elements in here that raise the tax credit amount for the host organizations from ticket sales and registered participants. That's simply just inflation. When this program was put in place, costs were a lot lower 6 years ago, and costs have risen. So happy to answer any questions and appreciate you hearing the bill today.
Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody testify in favor, please come forward.
Chairman Bernstetter, members of the committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak in support of House Bill 1483 and the Missouri Amateur Sports Tax Credit. My name's Tim Ryan. I'm the Director of Communications for the St. Louis Sports Commission, the privately funded nonprofit organization that works to attract and produce major sporting events for the St. Louis region. These events, I stress, are non-professional sporting events that generate visitor spending and tax revenue for the benefit of all Missourians. These events support jobs in the tourism and hospitality industries. It is a highly competitive landscape to win these events, whether we're talking NCAA championships or Olympic trials events, or the youth tournaments that bring dozens and dozens of families, teams from out of state to spend money in Missouri. Other states see the value and revenue potential in these events, and those other states have upped their games to attract these events. The passage of the Amateur Sports Tax Credit Program back in 2013 has been a lifeline to our efforts and the efforts of our colleague organizations around the state to bring revenue-generating events and visitor delivery to Missouri. I also wish to convey there would be many more of those organizations represented here this morning under normal circumstances, but this week happens to be a major national annual meeting in Portland, Oregon, at which representatives from communities across Missouri who would normally be here this morning are actually meeting with event rights holders this week to try to bring business back to Missouri. And I'm speaking about not just St. Louis and Kansas City, but organizations and representatives from St. Joseph and Joplin, Springfield, Cape Girardeau, Columbia, Lake of the Ozarks, Maryland Heights, and others. The best way to describe the impact and the value of the Amateur Sports Tax Credit Program is that it has a guaranteed return on investment for the state. The program, as Representative Christ mentioned, has already, in its first 10 years, landed more than 100 amateur sports events, $524 million in new economic activity, which is translated to $15 million in state tax revenue generated by these events. And then through the state tax credit program, a portion of that tax revenue has been rebated back to the nonprofit sports commissions and visitor bureaus, which do the work of attracting and producing these events using this tool. The program's been so successful, in fact, that we often run up against the current cap of $3 million on tax credit amounts that can be tapped into in a particular fiscal year, which limits the amount of business that can be brought to the state through our collective efforts. Again, this tax credit can only be used to attract events that would not otherwise take place in Missouri. So the program has proven to work for the state. The return on investment is certain because the tax credit is only distributed once an event has actually taken place in Missouri. And the program benefits communities of all sizes, and this reauthorization would raise the annual cap from $3 million to $6 million to allow Missouri cities to more successfully pursue major events for the state. Again, there is no downside here. If our event attraction efforts are unsuccessful, no tax credits are distributed. In closing, the reauthorization of the Missouri Amateur Sports Tax Credit Program is critical for Missouri to stay competitive for these major sporting events, and an increased cap will enhance the effectiveness of event attraction efforts in communities all over the state. There are not two sides to this legislation. I can say confidently that everyone wins and there's no risk. I thank you very much for your time, your service to our state, and your very thoughtful consideration for this bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there a reason that the name was changed? Did the National Association just change its name, or is there some other reason?
Are you referring to the National Association of Sports Commissions?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a branding change to Sports ETA that occurred a few years ago.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
It's the same organization.
Same organization.
Same
just changed the
organization,
name. Okay.
branding
Okay. Senator Beck, go ahead.
refresh.
Yeah, good morning. Just a couple questions. One, the bill is extending the sunset and extending the cap, but there's also a lot of other changes in the bill that currently states. So why are the eligible costs being taken out? And maybe the bill sponsor said that and I didn't hear him.
Eligible costs. Yeah, let me refer to my notes here. So, let's see. So the eligible costs part, Senator Beck, has to do with that change was made more to streamline the process and eliminate the sort of what's been deemed unnecessary and time-consuming work, both for the organizations applying for the tax credit and the Department of Economic Development. In the program's first 11 years, with rare exception, the tax credit award, has been based on the attendance and registered participant formula, and that's not changing. But that being the case, it becomes inefficient to require host organizations to continue documenting and submitting the costs incurred by the event. And further, the intent of the amateur sports tax credit legislation has always been for nonprofit host entities to receive a portion of the new incremental tax revenue that they are responsible for generating from the events they attract. So utilizing solely the attendance and registered participant formula is an appropriate and accurate way for the state to determine the tax credit award so that Missouri continues to receive a return on investment from this program.
Okay, so you're saying they no longer receive money on receipts on costs incurred?
I'm not sure I understand that
Well,
question.
Well, I'm just curious why the cost, it says, if you look further on page 4, it says eligible costs and documentation of cost evidenced by receipts. You no longer have to do any of that. So I'm just curious was it too onerous to put your cost as far as putting on an event or
Right.
whatever else? Was it too onerous to have receipts or what the cost of that?
My understanding, and I might refer back to Representative Christ on this, but my understanding is that we still,
He's gone, so you're
oh, okay, we still bear cost to these events. It sort of goes without saying that there are costs that we incur to put on these events. If I understand you correctly, it sounds like you're curious if we need to show the exact amounts of those costs.
Well, I'm curious why it's being removed from the bill, because those things are being taken out of the bill. You have to show your costs. You know, it's like if I had
Right.
if I had a plumber come to my house and he
Right.
just gave me a bill for, I would want to know what it's for.
Right. I would agree with you on that. I'm not sure I
I'm just
have the
curious.
right.
I mean, I didn't think it was going to be a hard question, but I was just,
Right, and all I know is that it was something that created extra paperwork for no real gain, it seemed like, for both host organizations and DED. Now, again, that's my understanding of it. If DED didn't have a problem with it, I suppose that's why it's
I'm not
part
going
of
to
it.
belabor
But
the point. I was
yeah.
just curious. So thank you.
And there may be a better explanation for it, but
Okay, thank you for your testimony. Anybody else in favor, please come forward.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having us. I'm Sarah Stanton. I'm the Chief Administration Officer at the Kansas City Sports Commission, the counterpart to Tim Ryan at St. Louis. And just in full transparency, I'm the B-lister here, as Kathy Nelson would have been here to speak in support of this House bill, but she is also at the industry convention trying to secure events to bring back to Missouri. I'm just here to state how important this is for Kansas City. I've been here for the inception of this program. It truly has allowed us to draw programs to not just to Kansas City, but to the whole state of Missouri as we all partake of this program. Tim has already referred to the cap space on this bill. We have maxed out the cap space and would be so grateful for increasing this cap space as we tend to draw these events to the state. And again, I can't add any more hasn't already been added, but I can tell you that for Kansas City, it's allowed us to obtain the Big 12 men's and women's basketball tournament at least through 2031. And it has allowed us to host U.S. figure skating, numerous NCAA men's basketball regionals and first rounds, the NAIA and MIAA events, D2 football, some D2 and D3 events in bowling and golf, And NCAA Wrestling Championships, which Kansas City just finished hosting. We host NCAA Volleyball Tournament in a couple years. We've hosted that in the past. Without this tax credit, we can't afford to get these programs to our state again. And it's not just people participating, buying tickets. It's staying all night. It's eating in our restaurants. So I just can't tell you how important it is to all of us all across the state, and we're so grateful for your support and would be so thankful for the extension of this program.
Thank you for your testimony. Questions? Senator Razor.
I just want to reiterate the importance of this, and you were talking about the Big 12 tournament. We used to compete against Oklahoma City and Dallas,
Yeah.
pretty much. That conference now goes nearly coast to coast, from Phoenix to Orlando.
Yes.
Cincinnati, I'm trying to think of just like the regions, up to
Florida.
Ohio. Yeah, so we're competing against a lot of folks, and this is a great tool to keep that tournament in Kansas City.
And without this, we couldn't. And believe me, there are so many other locations that would love to host this tournament. And as the Big 12 Conference changes, the face changes, as again you've alluded to, all these different teams coming to our city, and they've chosen us. They have chosen to come, and we've been able to secure it into 2030, long after I'll be here. So it's just a great thing. And again, without this, we couldn't do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else speak in favor, please come forward.
Good morning. I'm Karen Crispin, Executive Director for Visit Maryland Heights, and I also serve as a St. Louis Sports Commission board member. I'm here in support of House Bill 1483. The Missouri Amateur Sports Tax Credit was key to hosting many events in our community. I would like to highlight two. In early 2024, Centene Community Ice Center hosted the ACHA, American Collegiate Hockey Association's National Championship, bringing 70 hockey teams for an 11-day tournament to our town. This resulted in an $11 million economic impact for Maryland Heights, St. Louis County, and St. Charles, with hundreds of thousands of dollars in state tax revenue generated. The ACHA tournament has the option for 2026 and 2027 in Maryland Heights, and the awarding of the event is dependent on the tax credit being available. Right now, there is no cap space available in these years, so raising the tax cap would help secure it. We're happy to announce they will be back in 2025. In March 2024, Centene Community Ice Center also hosted the NCAA Men's Ice Hockey Regional with a $2 million economic impact. I was fortunate to be in the sold-out crowd, and it was really exciting. It's essential that House Bill 1483 is passed for us to continue to bring first-class events to our communities and compete with surrounding states. Thank you for your time today.
Questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anybody else testify in favor, please come forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the
morning.
committee. My name is Tracy Kimberlin. I am a lobbyist for the Missouri Association of Convention and Visitors Bureaus. And I won't go through all the reasons that have already been mentioned for reauthorizing this bill and increasing the cap. But one of the things that I do want to bring up, the Missouri Association of Convention and Visitor Bureaus is an organization that has about 35 members of convention and visitors bureaus, large and small, all around the state. You've heard today from St. Louis and Kansas City, but I want to stress that this program is not just available to St. Louis and Kansas City. I was formerly the president of the Springfield Convention and Visitors Bureau. We use the tax credits to attract amateur sporting events to Springfield. As a matter of fact, there just recently a pickleball tournament, a BMX tournament, and a wrestling tournament were brought to the state and to Springfield with help through this bill. It is great for the state. It has a very positive return on investment. As an example, Springfield hosts a tournament called the National Christian Homeschool Basketball Championships. That particular tournament attracts 350 teams only about 20 from the state of Missouri to Springfield and the state, and about 15,000 people. The economic impact of an event like that is huge, and it's not just occurring, those types of events aren't just occurring in St. Louis and Kansas City. Virtually any community that has adequate sporting facilities, and many do, if you have a college or a university, you do, can participate in this program, and more are. And that's the reason, or one of the reasons, for increasing the cap to $6 million. We can attract more if we're out of money to get those events, and so that's why we're hoping that the cap will be increased. And Senator, regarding your question on the expenses, I don't have the exact answer, but I'll throw one out. These events spend a tremendous amount of money in the communities and outside of the communities, far more than the grant itself, and everyone felt that why put them through the hassle of identifying how much they spend on trophies and referees and this and that and the other, which is a lot of work that they don't have to do elsewhere, when the benefit is getting the tournament to the state. I don't know if that helps answer your question any. But and other than that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you all might have.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you for your testimony. Anybody else in favor, please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Jorgen Schlemeyer on behalf of Greater St. Louis, Inc., in favor of the bill.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you. Anybody else in favor?
Mr. Chairman, Shannon Cooper today representing the City of Kansas City, the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Civic Council of Greater Kansas City. One only has to come to Kansas City on a weekend to see how successful this program's been. Every weekend we're packed with amateur sports, kids doing stuff I've never even heard of, tumbling, gymnastics, things like that. So
never heard of gymnastics.
Gymnastics, okay, the tumbling, I don't know why a parent would bring a child to Kansas City to tumble, but anyway, it has been a successful program for us, so happy to answer any questions.
Questions?
Thank you.
Nothing about his knowledge of gymnastics?
No, that was impressive, though.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian Grace. I'm here today on behalf of two entities that have already testified, the St. Louis Sports Commission and the Kansas City Sports Commission. I'm simply coming up not to duplicate, but to address Senator Beck's question about the removal of eligible costs. There's two options for use in the program. One is a per ticket or per attendance formula, and the other is per eligible costs. There have never been an instance when the program was used when the per ticket formula generated more funds through the program than the eligible costs. So we're reverting to the lower cost option for the state. Calculation of eligible costs also creates a lot of unnecessary paperwork, especially because it's never been used. So it's saving the time, particularly for the smaller communities that use the program and for the Department of Economic Development who reviews the applications.
So basically you're just limiting it to the ticket part of the program.
The tickets, or if there's not ticket sales, the attendance numbers. Yes.
Thank you for answering the question.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else testify in favor? Anybody testify in opposition? Anybody to testify for informational purposes? That concludes our hearing. I make a motion that we adjourn. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.